I'd like to call to order the Upper Allen Township Board of Commissioners meeting for August 3rd, 2026. We will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Fairchild,
Present.
Commissioner Overly Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Walsh,
Present.
Commissioner Clark.
Present.
Okay. This meeting will be live streamed for those who wish to attend virtually. A recording of the meeting will also be available afterward for anyone who cannot join in real time. I'd like to remind speakers to identify their names and addresses and to speak directly into the microphone. First up on our agenda is consideration approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meetings for the July 1st, 2026 regular meeting, the June 22nd, 2026 public forum, and the July 15th public hearing for a street vacation. Do we
I
have?
move their approval of the 3 sets of minutes.
I second.
Are we on the July 1st?
I would recommend we do June 21st, 22nd first, just do them in chronological order. So I have some additions and corrections to the June 22nd meeting. That was our public forum on the land preservation referendum. And I thought there was we need to be a little more specific on some of the information from natural lands. And I was going to propose, it's on page 2, the last paragraph. Mr. Rose explained that the referendum language is guided by state law and must identify the type and rate of tax to be imposed while allowing municipalities flexibility to define the specific preservation purposes the funding will support. I would also like to add, and this is verified by the video transcript, Mr. Rose noted the only way to repeal the funding is to go to a subsequent referendum sometime in the future. And that was at 16 minutes and 18 seconds on the video. And then on page 3, the third paragraph, Mr. Rose, this is where Mr. Rose then reviewed the township's earned income tax environment relative to its neighboring municipalities. I would like to add a footnote. This is where Mr. Rose, he quotes an estimated average taxable income of $130,000 per resident. I wish we were that wealthy. The average works out very high. That if you see the actual data, it's skewed very heavily towards the very wealthy, high income earners. So yeah, while he's correct that the average may be $130,000, we also did further analysis and the median income is $65,000 a year for the earned income. You know, half the people earn more than that, half below. And I would just propose a footnote that with subsequent research, let's see how I worded it. The township subsequently learned that the median EIT earnings were $65,000 in 2024 per data from the Cumberland County Tax Bureau. And then I would add a second footnote. The township subsequently learned that the median earned income tax payment was $325 in 2024 per data from the Cumberland County Tax Bureau. And then on page 4, it's paragraph 7. I think this is where President Fairchild opined on the fact that in the 1990s, the suburbs of Philadelphia, Chester County was cited were losing a farm a day. I believe I said one farm a day. And that is at minute marker 409 of part 2 of the video. And then this is what I thought was one of the more important ones. President Fairchild asked if Natural Lands would give an estimate of how much an acre would cost in conservation easement. Mr. Rose replied that he did not have an answer to that question. Ms. Rose actually replied that he would not want to give that kind of number. He said, quote, "I mean, that's a trap. Everybody in our business to answer that question." So I think that clarification is important. And then finally, I lost my place in the minutes, but when Stephanie Williams from the county presented, I believe she said we had 528 acres of preserved farms in Upper Allen Township. And then she caught that a day or so later. It's actually 406 acres of preserved farms in Upper Allen Township. So if we could just maybe add a correction as a footnote to that one. So that's all I had for the minutes.
I move for approval of the June 22nd forum summary with the corrections provided.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we can do the July 1st, 2026 regular meeting.
Move their approval.
Second.
I do have one minor correction, Mr. Fairchild. Page 13, with reference to my echoing Commissioner Smith's stance on historic lands. Of the bridge, he stated, "We're done it." Should be, "We're done with it." So
Okay. What page, Bill?
13,
What paragraph? Third.
third.
So I had one on page 27. This is where Mr. Weinick replied that it was not about what other townships have done. He urged President Fairchild to heed the majority of the board who have expressed support for the 50-50 split. This is at the top of page 2027. A couple paragraphs down, I think everybody remembers I did support the change in the earned income tax. So Alexis, I don't know if you're trying to be a novelist or not, but you said President Fairchild was unmoved. So if I said I was unmoved, it should be in the minutes, but not to describe that to my position because I ended up voting for it. So other than that, I think the minutes look good. And we like color in our minutes. For those in the audience, they're not a dry set of minutes. There's a lot of background, which when you, like a year from now, if you go back and look, it'll jar your memory as what actually happened in some of these meetings. So anyway, yep, we have a motion. These minutes.
Have a motion.
Okay, a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And now the July 15th public hearing. It was actually to vacate a portion of Old Hollow Road by Daybreak Church. Very short hearing that we had. We have a motion on this minutes.
I move we approve.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're at the point of our meeting. We recognize visitors who may wish, we don't have any official visitors tonight, I don't believe. But recognize anyone who may want to speak to an item not on the agenda. Do we have anybody in that category? Okay, not seeing any. Next, we have our consent agenda, and I'd like to take them individually. First one is consideration approval of bills in the amount of $738,879.51.
Mr. President, I move we approve the proposed bills.
Second.
Just my standard comment about the bills, our highest expense is health insurance. And we did get a bill from Natural Lands for preparation of the conservation opportunities map, and they charge $5,818.50 to do that. I think that's the only natural lands bill in there. I did not believe there was anything from Grow Conservation at this point. Grow Conservation is who did public outreach and surveys, focus groups. So we'll just note that about the bills. And sometimes Ken points out the smallest bill
I
to,
didn't take the time.
okay.
8
All right.
cents.
Oh, Phil bought that one. Okay.
What was that for?
8 cents.
Vehicle maintenance. I'm going to go to that mechanic.
So Phil gets the low bill award of the year, I think.
Nothing on my car costs 8 cents.
Yeah, nothing anywhere costs 8 cents. So, okay. We have a motion on the bills.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the bills are approved. Next, we have financial security reduction for Funtastic. It's Upper Allen, file number PZ 2408-07. Would you, or looks like Michelle might want to discuss that? Or is it Mike? Or
Yeah, I think this mic is on, yes. I'm standing in for Jason. You might remember last month we had a release request for Funtastic. Subsequent to that, the applicant came in and requested additional reduction, and the engineer, CS Davidson, went out and did another inspection, and that's what you're seeing before you. They're recommending an additional reduction in the amount of $18,551.50 going back to the developer, and reducing the financial security to $78,990.14.
you have a motion to reduce financial security?
I move to reduce the financial security for the Funtastic Plan, UAT file number PZ2408-07, from $97,541.64 to $78,990.14. Township staff were authorized to release $18,551.50 to developer K&D Property Group.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Next, we have financial security reduction for 381 Cumberland Parkway. It's Aya Hana, Inc., Upper Allen Township, file number PZ 2410-10.
Yes, this is the Hyatt development, and the original amount is $747,583.60, and this is actually the first reduction request. And CS Davidson is recommending releasing $597,516.10, and with a remaining amount of $150,067.50. So they've done a significant amount of work on the site.
Sure. Okay, we have a motion on that one.
Motion to reduce the financial security for 381 Cumberland Parkway, Iana Incorporated, file number PZ 2410-10, from $747,583.60 to $150,067.50. Township staff shall release the current financial security to the developer after the developer provides an amendment to the current letter of credit or posts with the township new financial security in the reduced amount in a satisfactory form as provided for the subdivision and land development ordinance.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion is also approved. Next, we have Public Safety Committee, but soon to be Chief Barnes.
Good evening. This past week, our department was invited to participate with Senator Kiefer and Representative Kutz in a shredding and license plate replacement event at the Mechanicsburg Middle School. That was very well attended, and we just appreciate the partnership with the community in that. So,
Thank you. Fire Department.
Assistant Chief Kaminsky standing in place of Chief Schumger this evening. No report, however, I have one announcement that the annual golf outing for the Pop D Memorial Golf Tournament will be held Friday, October 2nd at 8 a.m. at the Rich Valley Golf Course.
Thank you.
I might add that I think this past Saturday was the final chicken barbecue, which by my palate was very successful.
Righty. Or is it still being held across from the Chick-fil-A at that church? So that's quite an accomplishment to challenge Chick-fil-A like that and have a successful chicken barbecue. All righty. Planning and zoning, consideration action of a time extension for the preliminary final land development plan for 1924 Fisher Road, Upper Allen Township, file number PZ 2601-02. And
Commissioner Fairchild, I'll address that agenda
okay,
item.
sure.
You'll recall at the July 22nd meeting, Hart's Real Estate, which has proposed the development at 1924 Fisher Road, had appeared before the board requesting feedback on potential alternative plan submissions. At that time, the board took a position, or at least expressed a position that the board interprets the ordinance as requiring a donation of 1 acre of land, and that the board would not consider any plan that did not involve the donation of 1 acre of land. And our community development director, Michelle Mikesell, also informed the developer that she had reviewed the plan, and particularly the use of an access drive as opposed to a private or public roadway on the front of these townhomes. And in her opinion, an access drive was not permissible, that it would have to be a public road or a private road. Hartz's attorney did communicate with me prior to today. Mr. Esh McCombie from McNeese called me last week and said that Hartz was going to want an opportunity to address the board again regarding these issues. Unfortunately, we didn't get any written response until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Michelle was out this afternoon. I didn't have a chance to fully discuss this letter with her and recommend a reaction for the board. One other issue is that in order for this plan to be continue to be discussed at these meetings, we will need an extension of the deadline. And so I did put that on the agenda just to avoid a circumstance where this plan would be deemed approved due to inaction by the board. So the developer is here tonight to make a presentation or to present these issues to the board, and it would be recommended that the board grant the developer's extension request, which is, I believe, until October 30th, 2026.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having us. I won't reiterate everything that your solicitor just put out there, but yes, we're looking for an extension to October 30th. I think that's the only item that requires formal action from the board this evening. We're also will continue working with staff on the access drive, private road, whatever that may be, discussion during that time. But I believe the last time we were here, we were also looking for some feedback from the board, as Josh mentioned, as to offering a sidewalk and crossing or trail. My understanding that it was a couple commissioners commented on an acre or nothing. Others were a little silent. So we wanted to circle back on that issue. We went back and did some further digging into the plan to see what else we might be able to do. We think we could offer a half-acre dedication of land. Beyond that, the project's not feasible. In addition, you start running into all kinds of impervious coverage issues as you take a full acre away from 3.5 acres for the entire project. So wanted to get a little bit of feedback from the board. Again, the one option we had offered was sidewalk along the street with an intersection crossing. And then at the rear, a trail connecting to Fisher Park from the property. We're talking or offering this evening as an alternative to that, given the cost and number of units that would be lost with the half acre. We could dedicate a half acre to the township in the alternative. So if the board had, a preference of one or the other, we'd love to hear about it. If the board doesn't, then we'll move forward with our own option and go from there.
Where would the half acre be? Do you have any drawings
back.
of that? Just totally in the back?
Instead of being a full acre in the back, it'd be a half acre in the back.
And I think, you remember some of the sketches, like the full acre kind of lined up with where that paper street was. Over to
That little
Southview.
easement going into the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be back in that area. But I don't know where it lines up relative to that.
And how does the acre,
So it would be along that L strip that's an easement, but the half acre would not come all the way up to where that easement goes into the cul-de-sac of Southview Drive. So it'd be connecting to that easement, but the longer part of the L, not the.
Do we have a picture?
do you have a drawing?
Yeah, I can submit it to the solicitor.
Oh, but you don't have it to view?
No. No, if you recall, before the full acre came all the way into the parking, this is quite literally half of that.
And is that it? Oh, that might be Mike's handiwork. Okay.
Yep, that's accurate, generally accurate. Thank you, Mike.
And, we were still having discussions with the Park and Rec Department, and the developer had some drawings of superimposing some baseball fields and stuff on it, which don't quite fit even on an acre. We're aware of that, but there was discussion about wildflower meadow, things like that.
Right.
So that it could be to the public benefit, but not necessarily be high maintenance for the township. But so your stormwater would be outside of that, right? Isn't that the theory we're going under?
Correct. The stormwater would not go into the dedicated area.
And how many units are you proposing if it's a half acre or less of land?
Yeah, I believe with a half acre, it'd be 16 total. We're losing 3.
And it's still like that hammerhead kind of turnaround in the back?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, compared to former plans that you had seen, we just kind of have to reorganize the number of townhomes in a row. We'd lose 3 of them, push more of them together, and then shift everything towards Fisher Road.
And the full acre, you were losing 6 townhomes or something like that? What
They're about.
do you think it'd be? But how does that make your stormwater worse? Isn't that what you said earlier? It made it more complicated.
Impervious coverage, it makes worse.
Because of like the percentage of like that
Correct.
hammerhead,
The
that
denominator-
turnaround in relation.
Well, the
to-
denominator is getting smaller. Right
Yeah.
now, the denominator is 3.5 acres. If you take a full acre, the denominator is 2.5 acres.
I did notice on the plan one time, like the entryway, access drive or whatever was 26 feet wide. And we only require, I think, 24, or what would that change, Michelle? Isn't the requirement for a public road 24 feet?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know that offhand. I'd have to look in the subdivision ordinance.
I'm just saying, I think it seemed wider than what you needed, which probably adds to your.
Way, the
to your
right of way
purpose.
is 50 feet for local road and with the cartway, and that would include, do you guys happen to know offhand?
So the subdivision land development ordinance requires for a public or private street to have a 50-foot right of way and a cartway width of 24 feet with shoulders of 28 to 34 feet if curbed.
And was your stormwater management the same type system? Wasn't there some concern about that? Like in kind of a tank or a holding area and bubbling?
We're not proposing any changes to the stormwater. I think staff was good with as it is.
Any other comments?
I don't find the alternative very attractive because we would end up with a isolated parcel of land surrounded by lands we don't own. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to benefit the park or even the community adjacent to it. So I'm still waiting to see the final proposal, but my initial reaction isn't overwhelmingly positive. But, you know, we got material, as a matter of fact, just before the meeting tonight, et cetera, and I'm not critical of that, but I don't think this board has had sufficient time to even think about a change, let alone look at a change. I'd be in a position to grant a time extension and then move on and have them come back with something that we can really discuss and study and question. But I don't find discussion right now helpful because I don't think you're fully prepared to present and we certainly aren't prepared to react. So I, for one, would just grant the time extension and move on.
Yeah, Commissioner, I think we're on the same page with you. That's why we're seeking it. I think some of the feedback we got at the last meeting made us have to go back and kind of re-review and look at other things. So that's the process we're in now. Yep.
If we would take that action, October 31 is only 2 months, and I know that some developers in the past we've given time extensions of 2 and 3 and perhaps 4 times. I guess I would just encourage you, given what you need to do, doesn't mean you have to use all the time, but please request enough time that's realistic so you're not back here in 60 days asking for another time extension. So I just present that as a thought.
On your design. 10:30 good, or should we go back further?
So talking with our engineer, I think 10:30 is good enough to get something in with some feedback, but I don't know if it's going to get us to where we need to be, where you're all able to take a vote. So if it makes sense to push it back maybe to the end of the year, that'll buy a little time. Yes.
Maybe I'm getting my developments confused, so excuse me if that's the case, but wasn't there also an issue with water being provided to this location?
Different project.
Different project,
Yes.
got it, thank you.
And what happened with the NPDES placard? It was like in the back of the middle of the property. We got complaints. Somebody said something that was only a draft posting. Or is there a more
Jake
proper
Krieger from
posting?
RGS. So it's been moved forward to the front of the parcel. We had a meeting with the EP, and per their law, it's supposed to go at the discharge point, which is actually at the back part of this parcel. So we kind of I've always offered in the center, which lines up with the latitude and longitude. So it's been discussed, and DEP recognizes we met what they require, but we've told them we have no problem moving it forward. We're just trying to follow what their guidance is. So it's been moved forward and I think resolved.
Thanks, Jake. So based on Commissioner Martin's suggestion, I think we would revise our extension request to 12/31 of 26 to put another 2 months in there. That'll give us time to circle up with staff, come back and get something clean in front of you all.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I meant to say, I appreciate the movement in your position. That
Thank you, President.
I
I don't have a script in front of me, so I guess this will be, I'm winging it, but I would move that we grant the applicant a time extension on the land development plan for 1924 Fisher Road, file PZ 2601-02 until December 31, 2026.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It's
Thank you,
granted.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming out. Do we have anything for public improvement? Any reports? Any reports for sanitary sewer? None. We have the administrative committee and our discussion on the land preservation referendum and consideration of final draft of ordinance. We've had several meetings about land preservation. We've advertised the ordinance. It's the same as was posted a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure. I mean, how did the board want to proceed? We have more public comment on it.
I have one minor question. Maybe Geraldine can help me out here. On the July 29th memo, you referenced ordinance 855, and on the ordinance itself in our packet references 850. And then in the front of the
It
packet.
should be 850.
850.
850, okay, thank you.
And I believe we've modified our website. Some of the criticism of the process has to do with like just how the Open Space Act, how it's prescribed and all that. Some of these events are like the Land Preservation Review Board don't come until after the referendum is approved. It's like putting the cart before the horse otherwise. And I know there's some complaints about that. But this will be, satisfy itself depending on the outcome of the referendum. And we are working on some frequently asked questions. We've assembled all the questions from different residents. We have answers in process. We have learned that Hatfield Township in Montgomery County also has a land preservation referendum on the ballot in November. We have their FAQ. They also had worked with Natural Lands. We learned that Lower Salford Township, also in Montgomery County, passed a land preservation referendum in May, also using Natural Lands. And we have, their materials. They have a little bit different presentation on like the earned income tax and so forth. That's helpful. I think, sometimes the nuance, like I think you saw me adding some specifics to the minutes, the nuance of the earned income tax and who actually pays it is really important because a lot of people don't pay it. Retirement income and so forth is exempt. So the board, made the effort to make it more equitable by adding a property tax. So anyway, do we just want to take more public comment and then consider the ordinance, or what's the will of the board?
Well, there might be board members that wish to speak and then hear from the
Okay. Any other members want to speak at this point?
I have a comment that I'd like to make. For the November 2026 referendum, it gives voters an opportunity to express their opinions on the farmland conservation, preservation, and associated funding mechanisms. And the referendum could fail, the referendum could pass, and then never be implemented. If the referendum passes, the implementation committee could be formed, could provide testimony to the planned township comprehensive plan process. The land preservation and comprehensive plan committees can work in tandem rather than as two separate entities competing for staff time. The combined processes could be prioritized to meet the capacity of our staff working on the their daily work, their comprehensive plan, and the 2027 budget. So there's a way to put that together without another layer of activity. So I had time to think about this in my last week on vacation, and I had received some comments from the community in reference to staff workload. And like you were saying, like some of that process comes afterwards, that rather than having it all prepared before you go to referendum. That's it. That's all I had.
I'm not opposed to discussing the issue. I think that's appropriate to preserve open space, honor our farmland because agriculture is an important pursuit within our country. I guess I'm the one that would call for a pause because I don't understand what the rush is. This is a relatively new introduced topic amongst our board. And we already know that we are going to do a comprehensive plan this fall and winter. And so to me, a natural time to undertake this discussion is alongside the comprehensive plan. So I'm not sure what the rush is. If I think back to some of the meetings we've had in the last several months, there were many residents that came in and talked negatively or talked with concern about putting this issue on a referendum or even moving forward and passing it. I can recall very, very few people who came in front of this podium and supported the issue or called for the referendum. So I guess that on scientific recollection says it feels to me like more people are not interested in moving forward than are. And I might suggest that if we do this thing rationally and logically, we might come up with more answers to present to the public. And those that doubt may even say, yeah, that is a good idea. But it feels to me like we as a board are kind of thrusting something down the agenda of our electorate. Because we really don't know how many acres we're talking about. And I think tonight we said, 406 or whatever is already preserved. But we really don't know how many acres are going to be eligible for this program that we're proposing to fund. And more importantly, to my knowledge, we've not talked with any farmers or landowners to see how many of them are even interested if in fact we implemented a township program. So to me, we ought to kind of think about the interest before we forge ahead and do a program. And in talking with Stephanie Williams from the county, we already have an ag security conservation program. And that program also preserves farmland into perpetuity. So it's not a second-rate program. It's something that's already in place. Perhaps our efforts and our money and our encouragement would be to work with those farmers that have not yet signed up and encourage them to participate in the county program. And as an aside, that's a county-funded program and not something that's borne solely by the taxpayers of Upper Allen Township. So again, not against the issue, but I'm not favorable toward the process because it seems like for whatever reason, we want to hurry and get this on the November ballot. And there's going to be elections in years to come. And I'm a strong proponent of doing it in tandem with the comprehensive plan. And I might add that I, as one, don't think it shows integrity that we're going to impose or at least suggest that we have a tax increase on our neighbors and our residents without us knowing really how we're going to use it and what it's going to be used for and who's going to be benefit. So I kind of think the process lacks transparency, not purposely, but I think we're just rushing the process.
I would have to say, Mr. Martin, I'm disappointed. I think we reached an agreement earlier that we would not discuss the survey, and I will hold to that. However, you made the reference to or alluded to the possibility that perhaps residents of the township were not necessarily in favor of having it sooner rather than later. Bit of a cheap shot. I'm
No,
disappointed.
Excuse me, Phil. Well, I think what I said was from my recollection of people who came to our meetings and addressed the board. I did not reference the survey. I was
I
referencing.
understand that. I
Okay.
understand that, Mr. Martin.
So that's my interpretation.
I understand that. You're not listening to me. You alluded to that possibility. We're not going to discuss the survey, which may have very different results. And I've agreed not to go there, so I won't. All right? So I think it's disingenuous to suggest that that's the case.
And Ken, you've made some of those points before. I think we've also said just because a lot of public comes out on a certain issue doesn't mean it's representative of the township view in general. I mean, the survey was helpful. I thought and we are going to be posting it on the website, and I believe there's a narrative report that goes with it. But the last result, like 50% of the people or whatever were okay with it happening in November out of the like 440, and 30% maybe said wait, 20% weren't sure. But whatever the timing, I think so much of this is prescribed by this Open Space Act. I think our solicitor would agree with that. The wording of the question always has to be, do you favor the imposition of? You have the reasons. So however long you're going to wait, you're not going to change the question to the people. And this is like just grassroots democracy, letting the people decide. And there is a lot of misinformation out there, particularly on this so-called community Facebook page, that's detrimental. And I think it's somewhat of an embarrassment, Upper Allen, to see the facts twisted like that. And then this clamoring to identify what properties. We've had the conservation opportunities map done by Natural Lands, prior to even engaging them. I did an analysis last year of 1,400 acres that's possible. People come in and say, well, you could add in HOA land or cemeteries and things like that. That has nothing to do with it. And I think, Ken, we had a point of agreement about farmland is our primary objective here. And that if you listen to Stephanie Williams' presentation, by having this program, we are able to leverage the county funding like 2-to-1. We can get grants. It then moves our farms to the top of the list in the county. And those are wonderful, possibilities, but we need a program. And this whole thing that people, if you have no money and you want to go look at somebody's house and pretend you're a buyer, they're not going to really give you that much time a day. Until we have a program, I think that is when we're going to get interest from the landowners, and them identifying themselves now. I think that just, makes it a calling card for the developers, scouting for land. Oh, there's a possibility. So we could possibly lose even more land in the meantime using that approach. But just my own opinion, but we're following, you look at like that Hatfield Township, they had like a public forum information meeting on June the 24th. We did ours on June the 22nd. They may have started a little sooner or earlier than us, but we have ended up at the same place, and we are timely to be able to get it into the county. Okay.
I might also add that our last comprehensive plan took 18 months to complete. That's a year and a half. By the time this is enacted, assuming it is enacted, it could be well over a year before anyone's able to take advantage of it. So I think trying to extend this out even further by tying it into the comprehensive plan is just going to see more and more of these lands developed before we can even get close to enacting anything that might preserve them.
Do you have anything, Jennifer?
Yes. I appreciate everybody's feedback on this, and I have been trying to keep up with what we're getting directly and what I'm seeing indirectly online. I take notes during all of these, and I can say, not speculation, just actual data. We had 11 for and 2 against at the June 22nd meeting. I'm not talking about the survey or anything like that, just the public comment that came forth on that day. And what I have seen is an interest in doing this thoughtfully. one of the primary opposers of this came to me and said, we should have done this 10 years ago. And it made me think, then why would we want to delay it? If what we're saying is we've already waited too long, it doesn't seem to me like that's an argument to delay it another 18 months to 2 years. And I am concerned about the other fallout of development. I think that when you look at this and say it's a cost to the taxpayer, all of these developments are a cost to the taxpayer. The school tax is going up every year. We're having more traffic concerns, more stormwater concerns. I feel like I keep saying the same thing every time. This is not a we will be taxed or we won't be taxed. This is a we'll be taxed here or we will be taxed here. And we have a choice. And what I've heard from the majority of my neighbors is that they value the little bit of open space that's left. And I'd like to see how that turns out in a referendum. It's not guaranteed by any stretch, but I think, as you said, this is really grassroots democracy. What do people want? We're giving them that option. And if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But to just ignore that opportunity, I think, is just going to delay us and, to your point, probably result in less land that's available.
And if we don't do the right job, getting the information out there, then those who support this are going to suffer. It's not going to pass. And I just I watched some of these videos of Hatfield Township and Lower Salford, just the community engagement, and it kind of my hypothesis before why it's so popular, the ring counties around Philadelphia, is because they have experienced so much loss. That one farm a day during the 1990s, that is what happened. And they are fed up. I mean, the one, it's actually, I did see a comment on Facebook from Jason Saponcek. He said, if you had a specific property, which I know a lot of people are clamoring for that, but that is what's happening in some of these Montgomery County townships. They're down to like their last farm, and they're raising $20 million. They're bumping the EIT up 0.25% at once. But the community, I mean, the one in Lower Salford passed with 80% approval in May to tax themselves that way. And they have a lot of open space. I think like 1,200 and some acres in that township. It creates its own momentum by having the program and having a desirable township that recognizes, they're not making any more land or environment, the congestion and so forth. And then the whole thing, we didn't even get into it. I sent you an email, Mike, you may not have seen it, but Stephanie Williams sent me a cost of community services studies. There have been multiple studies on this. And thank you, Mike. So they look at for every dollar, they look at it by land use. For every dollar we get in revenue from a residential development, we have to pay $1.20 out. We pay more out to support residential. For every dollar, or on farmland, we have to pay out 30 cents. The numbers are drastically in our favor. It also works somewhat in the favor of commercial development compared to that. And I think we can that's intuitive. You not only have the infrastructure in some of these residential neighborhoods, then you have the burden of whatever on the school district. They have to educate those children. So all these studies show this is actually the more fiscally, conservative route to take. And that's, I think, part of the reason why they're popular. But, and I don't want to get too much into my own opinion, that way, because we'll hear more from the public, but I'd like to hear maybe some new reasons why this is somehow bad. I mean, 150 other municipalities have done the referendums. So anyway, we can go into public comment. And first up is Laura Brown from Silver Spring Township. She signed in first and was here early and has helped us tremendously through the process.
I don't know that I have more of a statement to make. I think what Jennifer mentioned about, how much more time are you going to wait and what's going to happen to the land? It's disappearing quickly. I do agree with her and what she said. In Silver Spring Township, again, we are very different than Upper Island Township. You can maybe use some of our procedures as like a template, but totally different. And what you see as important, the specific properties that you're most concerned about, that's unique to Upper Allen Township. So that's why I think if the referendum passes, then you sit down and you go through that. What are your criteria? What are your priorities? And you decide that as a board and as a land committee, land preservation committee. And you also involve residents. You get all of that at that stage. I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any more questions about anything Silver Spring. But like I said, it's every township's different. I'm happy to sit with you guys and help you after, if the referendum is passed, and go through anything like that with you.
And one of the things Laura did lately, that's Mr. Brenneman sitting behind you, your list of questions, Paul. Laura has written responses for that. She's also taking them to We Can Serve. So you'll get a specific response to all your questions. One thing, Laura, I think you said it before, and it just resonated more with me looking at some of these other townships, that we are using public money. It's taxed. We have to use it correctly. It's audited, but like everything is subject to an appraisal.
Yes.
Basically. And I remember you saying way back when, that's where you start as like the preservation coordinator in Silver Spring Township. What are the numbers like on these properties? And you're looking at, I guess, really market value, development value minus
Right.
conservation value or something to determine the value.
Yes, you take the market value and you subtract the value of the property with restrictions. That gives you your easement value. That's what you pay for the development rights. And like I said, when I started this back in 2015, I got involved. We're talking easement value $3,000 to $4,000. And now we've got properties at $15,000 easement value. So it's definitely changing depending on zoning too. Agricultural zones are not going up quite as much, but these things are going to continue rising. I mean, in Chester County, they've got $50,000 easement value in Chester County, and they're still preserving, but it's you have the money and you're able to preserve when it's a lower cost at this point. That's something to consider. So.
And the land is really escalating. You're going to ask Ken? Or you?
I'm going to wait till she's finished.
Oh, okay. She's entertaining questions if you.
Oh, I have a question for you, not for her.
Okay. Well, and I know Vince and Frank are here. They can ask. The other one was how much money is in the Silver Spring Fund or something.
We have $2.8 million right now. Now, over the 11 years that we've been doing this, we've gotten in about $9.1 million is what we've collected. We've spent about $7.3 million of that. And that's on easement values as well as the administrative costs, working with land trusts in the county and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I've got 9 properties I'm working on right now. So a good chunk of that money is going to go within the next year, but keep getting more in. But we are seeing, like I said, more interest. I just had 2 more applications in the last 2 weeks. So it's still continuing and there's more people interested asking questions. So.
And I know it's kind of a Jen question or whatever. You were looking at the amendments, like the 25% you can use of the fund toward existing open space to improve that, which I believe could be parks or it's publicly accessible space. But I don't know how much Silver Spring is using that way.
We have not used that in that way. It is permitted, but no, we've been using it strictly to pay landowners and to get the easements put on the properties. That's all we've spent on. So
I mean, you get more acres doing it, I think, Laura's way than trying to reinvest in something you may already have. And in our case, we have a park development tax existing at 0.2 mils that
okay.
you can use. Okay.
I'll sit down.
Thank you, Laura.
I was just going to ask you, Eric, I think you said that Paul's questions were answered by Laura. Were they made available to the board? I've not seen that.
No, we got it. It's electronic. We were going to include them with all the frequently asked questions.
You didn't distribute that to our board yet?
No, but.
Well, I'd like to see a copy of that because I think that'd be informative. So I'd encourage you to share.
Yeah, I have it somewhere, but she just did it. We were talking about the FAQ. I mean, Jennifer came up with some also that we,
She just said she don't know anything about
I said.
no, hers.
These were mine,
it. Yeah.
We're pulling the different questions, and then when I went back to the
No. I
minutes,
was specifically asking because we got a copy of Mr. Brenneman's questions, but
Right.
we never got the answer that you just referenced.
right. Well, Laura just did it. It was what, this weekend? When did you send it to?
You
have that,
Yeah,
Okay.
I just sent my answers today, first thing this morning. So yes, I'm sure that Eric
And there
will get it
was
to everyone.
something Paul asked that she wanted to go back to Week and Serve.
Yes, there were a couple questions that I wasn't sure on,
Right.
so.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So,
It took credit for it.
Of course.
yeah. Jacob Fogarty.
Guys, and I suck at public speaking, so my name is Jake Fogarty and I live in Upper Allen Township for nearly my entire life. I want to begin by acknowledging that serving on the Board of Commissioners is not easy. As someone who has served on a board for 9 years and currently serves it as president, I understand the difficulty of balancing competitive priorities and making decisions that affect an entire community. I also come from a background as an engineer and my wife is a nurse practitioner. In both of our fields, decisions are expected to be data-driven, transparent, and accountable. Standards, I believe, should apply just as strongly in local government. With that in mind, I cannot support the proposed tax increase in land preservation in its current form. At its core, my concern is not with the idea of conservation, but with the lack of clarity surrounding the proposal. Before asking residents to contribute more tax dollars, there should be a clearly defined plan outlining what land is being targeted for preservation, which properties have been evaluated, whether landowners have been engaged, and how funds would actually be used. Without that level of detail, this proposal feels less like a focused preservation effort and more like a general tax increase framed in universally appealing terms. Equally concerning is the lack of meaningful public input. As a landowner in this township, I was never consulted or asked for feedback prior to this proposal. If residents and property owners are not going to be engaged before something of this magnitude is placed on the ballot, it raises a serious question about where and how their input is being considered in the process. I also share the concern with this effort, which Mr. Martin mentioned, that this feels rushed. Most residents can support the concept of land preservation. I think we're all here for that. But good policy requires careful planning and clear safeguards. I've seen firsthand through friends and family with farms in nearby communities like Boiling Springs, how well-intended conservation efforts can produce unintended consequences when the process is not fully thought through. From my perspective as a landowner in Upper Allen Township, particularly near township-owned property in Bowmansdale, I have not seen consistent evidence that land preservation has been a clear or sustained priority. At the time, we continue to see farmland, which is part of the township's identity and is even reflected on its seal, replaced by dense residential development. That contrast makes it difficult to justify additional taxes in the name of preservation without a transparent and credible plan. My personal connection to this issue is not theoretical. I was once told by developers that I was crazy for wanting to build just one home on my own land. My response has always been simple. I value the land, the wildlife, and the natural character of this community. That belief has guided how I viewed development and conservation, not as opposing forces, but as something that requires balance and respect. In my experience, meaningful conservation is increasingly being carried out by private landowners who choose to preserve their property for the long term. I have yet to see how government-led efforts consistently produce better outcomes for wildlife habitat or ecological health. I'll close with this. I come from a family deeply rooted in the outdoors. I'm an avid archery hunter. My father has hunted nearly every species in North America. I am a husband building a life here in Upper Allen Township and a father who wants my daughter to grow up surrounded by woods, wildlife, and natural beauty that defines this place. Land preservation matters deeply to me. It is one of the reasons I chose to stay here and invest in this township. But precisely because it matters, I cannot support the proposal that lacks transparency, detail, and public trust. If this initiative is truly about preservation, then the township should first present a clear, specific plan and earn the confidence of its residents before asking them to pay more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Brenneman.
Paul Brenneman, 2020 Stumpstown Road. I'll be brief. As I've said before, I support the preservation, but I just can't grasp the way we've gone about it, or we haven't gone about it. My big bugaboo is we didn't, and I know what's going to be said, that'll happen after the referendum, but I strongly feel we should have talked to the landowners, or at least the possible landowners. I have a chart, I don't know whose it is anymore, and I talked to somebody that owns 134 acres, 86, and another person owns 86 and 29 acres, that the one isn't in ACE or ASA, and the other one is in the ASA, and they were never contacted, and they have no interest in the program. And with our little bit of land, that's almost half of the 530 acres that are farm acres. And I just don't understand why we didn't just contact people, say yes, no, maybe, and then go from there. And if you say, well, we'll do that after the referendum passes, that's fine. But then why did we spend $20,000 for the consultants? God only knows how much our solicitors bill and our staff. And I just think more people would not be frustrated and would be supportive of it if we would have just put this out in the beginning. And I don't know why we didn't do that. There's only 20 some landowners, and it wouldn't have taken much effort at all to talk to them. And I think that's where the frustration lies with people.
Gary Shikatano. Oh, okay. Joseph Darcy. Oh, okay. Judy Bailey.
Judy Bailey, 450 East Lisburn Road. I didn't check the box. I wasn't going to talk, but I am going to talk though, since I'm allowed to talk. And I want to thank you guys all for all the effort we put into this. I agree with Paul that it would be comforting for us all to have, it's not that many, and it's our neighbors, it's people that we know, that in a conversation that could be had. And I understand the parallels that you're lining up with the lands, the land, I can't remember the name of it, that's helping you with setting it up. You have to line up with their, the way they do that. And that's sort of a thing. And I'm involved with some land acquisition through my trail group. And I just wanted to ask, and that makes it difficult for those of us who are just, trying to be commenting with our neighbors. The other thing I wanted us to point out is that the comprehensive plan is not binding. No, there's plenty of things in the comprehensive plan that were totally ignored for the last 20 years. And by paralleling this with that, it doesn't mean that we're going to be able to follow through with this. And you can bet that there's going to be land that's going to disappear if we don't do it now. If we aren't able to do it now, there will be. I mean, there'll be a price to pay. We saw that with the the farm on Market Street. If we'd had that in place, it's possible we could have saved that from the get-go. My final point is Cumberland County only has a limited amount of money in their ASA. It's just been decreased. I wrote letters last year to the commissioners because they just lost a lot of the money that was going towards that funding. So we can't count on our landowners becoming members of ASA. We need to step up and say, here we are. We have preservation money here for our farmlands.
Thank you. Right.
That's Jim Cochran.
Jim Cochran. We're gonna have you verify your signature. I usually can read it, Jim. I can't.
I have several physicians in the family and I've learned from them.
Are you saying to be done?
No, I was a son.
Is that really you? I usually can
Yeah, that's
recognize.
me.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Brady, 4 Allison Avenue. I filed a right to know request, and from that right to know request, I received 200 megabytes of information, 1,900 pages that took me 3 days to go through. And from that, I formed the timeline that I just gave you, and I posted on the web. And my concern is with the process. It's a shame we find ourselves in this position today because in December of last year, Commissioner Fairchild said this was a priority and he wanted to get to it this year, and we even budget for it. It's on the tape, you can watch. And then crickets until April. But in the meantime, he was working in the background, gathering information, not sharing it, but gathering it. And we were focused on Bishop Ridge. And so we didn't get around to doing this. And had we started this in January, we could have answered all the questions. We could have had everyone informed, and we wouldn't be feeling rushed right now. It's a shame. So that's one of my concerns with the process. 2 numbers, things that popped up. We can't compare ourselves to Silver Springs, and right there's the reason why. They have the Carlisle Pike, and that 30 cents that they have is hundreds of millions of dollars we will never have to spend on our township. We don't have the Carlisle Pike. I don't want the Carlisle Pike. I don't live out there because of the Carlisle Pike. They can afford to preserve farms in the western part of their township because they've got all the revenue coming from the Carlisle Pike. What we're going to do is chase away commercial revenue. And if you think the school district costs are going to stop, you're mistaken. 70% of their costs are personnel costs. And as you pointed out today, Eric, our highest expense for the month was health insurance. Their health insurance is far better than our health insurance, and it goes up every year. And they count on growth in order to support that. They count on commercial growth. They count on growth that does not have children. But we're not going to do that. We're going to take that land away, and we're going to raise the price of houses in Upper Island Township because there'll be less development, and the houses that are here will be less affordable, and we're going to chase people away. So my last comment is, as I went through all that information, another piece of the process that really concerned me is that I think the 5 of you need to go back and review Article 2 of the Township Code, because that spells out the powers and authorities of board members and of officers. And there's only one person in this room that's allowed to direct employees of the township, and that's the township manager. And that's not what I saw in the 1,900 pages. And there's only 2 powers that the president has that you don't have. One is he gets to run these meetings, and number 2 is he gets to appoint people to committees. That's it. He doesn't get to dictate what's on the website. He doesn't get to dictate what people do on a daily basis. And you'll see that if you want to go through the 1,900 pages, you'll see it frequently. You can't have 6 bosses for these employees. You're going to drive them crazy. And I think you need to go back and look at the authorities that you really have and start acting in compliance with the code. Thank you.
Jim, I did want to comment to at least one of your claims that, like, I didn't copy people on some of the emails. And we have all this Sunshine Act training. You start copying everybody, then it can be considered a deliberation.
No,
So,
no, it's not a deliberation.
so I steer clear of that. That's
It's
kind of
not-
our training.
That's a
But
spurious argument. It's not copying someone on an email is not deliberation. You're sharing information. So
construed depending on where it goes. And then
So-
I have a pretty good relationship with Keldine. She wasn't really directed anyway. That's your word. I think when we started it, we looked at the We Can Serve, the Open
Judge
Space
Brown
Handbook.
has been good enough to put the 1,900 pages into a database. I think he shared that with you, and I would hope you'd share that with the public. Let them look at it and see what they think.
Jim, and Josh, maybe he's going to speak. You don't know the full story. You see some of this right to know. Like in your timeline, Jim, you go from April the 6th to May the 11th. So guess what? On April the 20th at the CAPCOG meeting, Silver Spring Township presented information. Ken is the chairman of the CAPCOG. I was there. Phil was also there. So, and that's on our website, and you're missing things in the timeline. So, but I don't want to get into a debate about it, but appreciate your research. We do get to see some of these right to know materials and we learn things too. So, it was informative that way. I think Ralph Klein Peter. Okay. He's going to pass, I think.
Robin Banks.
Robin Banks.
Robin Banks, 835 Grantham Road. Excuse me. Yes, there is a lot out there on this Facebook page, and the majority of it is taxes, 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 taxes. My comment is, if people aren't willing to pay a little bit of taxes, you're going to have more land being sold to developers, just like the one that was here, for 16 townhouses. Do you think there are going to be senior citizens living in those townhouses? Probably not. There's going to be families. And what does that do? That puts more strain on our schools. So if we don't do something with this land, you're going to have more people like this developer coming in here. Now he wants to change something. If you do it for one, you're going to have to do it for all. But my point is, people need to take into consideration, and we do have people about taxes on that Facebook page. And you know what? It's like, and then I hear the word transparency. That word drives me up a wall, because where was transparency and where was the residents' input when we spent all that money for Generations Park during COVID? Was there any residents' input for that? No. Then I come to find out that it was asked to be kept a secret from who they were purchasing the land from. Purchasing the land from a resident. Talk about transparency. That's not transparency. So I'm going to leave it at that, because previously there wasn't that much transparency. Thank you.
Will Davis.
Hello, everyone. I'm Will Davis. I live on Ashton Road in the Tattersall neighborhood. I'm not here for the big topic of the night. I'm actually here representing as a board member of the Tattersall Neighborhood Association. I emailed you all this afternoon, as well as Ms. Mixell and Mr. Welt. At the July 1 meeting, the board voted to reopen the plan that with Charter Homes for the Tattersall neighborhood and renegotiate the plan for that neighborhood and the approved plan. The association requests that it be included as a party in any discussions or negotiations concerning changes that may affect the development, including the park and other property now owned and maintained by the association. So you've decided to negotiate about lands that the neighborhood association owns without our participation in that discussion or approval in that discussion. The neighborhood's been fully developed in reliance upon the approved plans. Control of the association has been fully transitioned from the developer to the residents, and the association now owns and maintains property that could be directly affected by changes to those plans. In addition, Tattersall residents may have interests arising from the existing approvals and agreements that could be adversely affected by subsequent modifications. For those reasons, we believe the association should have an opportunity to participate in these discussions and review any proposed agreements or amendments before it is approved or executed. So we ask that no agreement or amendment affecting Tattersall be approved or executed until the association has been given an opportunity to participate in this process. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, we got your email.
Okay.
At least some of us did. I'm surprised you say the neighborhood isn't built out. I thought there's a big pile of dirt at the one end, and
so as the plans,
like part of it isn't done.
The approved plans that have been, that are on the books right now, everything that has been approved has been built out. So there is still land that is for sale, which would be in theory another phase of Tattersall, but it is my understanding, and again, our legal representation is not here and I'm just a board member, but it's our understanding that, that Charter Homes is trying to dedicate these lands, particularly the OSL-1, which is designated as open space, but Charter sold it as a park as parkland to the residents of our neighborhood. The people who are abutting the parkland paid a premium $30,000 to $50,000 more for plots of land that were marketed as a park. All of the signages was marketed as a park. There is park exercise equipment, there's park paths and so on and so forth that I know the township, when they were doing their investigations and updates as they were building it out, they would have certainly seen those it marketed as parkland. So one of the big sticking points, even though we're not part of this negotiations right now because we haven't been asked to be included, but I'm sure one of the big stickage points is this OSL-1. But OSL-1 is owned and maintained by the neighborhood association. So I don't see how we can't be a part of this process whenever it's our land that we own.
Right, it just seems common sense or common courtesy to include you, but the solicitor is probably the best one to answer this.
Well, certainly, and the township has not been approving anything that hasn't already occurred. I mean, Charter Homes, it performed improvements that were not permitted by the township, and the township is basically making them correct those conditions. So I guess we thought that was to the benefit of the homeowners association. I mean, I'm glad that you've come here and raised this concern, and I'm happy to include you in those talks with Charter Homes. But again, it's not that Charter Homes is trying to do something more. They already built things that were not permitted. Now we have to figure out how to deal with that. They violated township ordinances and violated the settlement agreement to do that.
And we understand that. And we were in our own discussions with Charter and we deferred to the township because we knew that the township was getting involved. Our concern and why I'm here tonight is that on July 1st, this board voted to reopen that agreement that was made back in 2020 for the development of the neighborhood. And so when you vote to reopen that agreement, whenever all the houses that were approved have already been built out and the neighborhood association has fully taken control of everything, when you reopen the entire agreement, which the board voted to do, we need to have a seat at that table.
That's not entirely accurate. They authorized me to negotiate a amendment to this settlement agreement, and there has been no amendment made to that agreement. The agreement hasn't been reopened. It's still fully in effect. And at this time, there's no plan to actually revise that agreement in any way, but I can bring your organization into that further. I do apologize for not bringing you in this conversation earlier. I was under the impression that your homeowners association had made complaints to the township and you wanted the township to follow up and make sure Charter followed the rules that they were supposed to. And so that's what we were doing. We thought it was I thought it was with your blessing, but I understand now that
we all want the same thing, but it was very concerning to us when we had heard that there was that agreement when we saw it and we went over it and our attorney watched the videotape and went through it, and our attorney was like, we need to jump on this, and they said, we'll wait to make sure and see if the solicitor is probably going to reach out to you anyways, but that never happened. And then we thought the meeting was normally on Wednesdays and it got moved up to today for the other topic. And so that's why I'm here, and I don't want to take any more time.
Yeah, nothing of consequence has happened so far. So, I mean, you can still get involved in the negotiations at this point.
Okay. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Make sure that the secretary has your name and address so that we can contact you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
John Banks.
John Banks?
I won't speak at this time.
Okay.
I left that open if you noticed. I didn't say yay or nay.
But I knew you wanted
Speakability.
to speak, John. Cameron White.
Cameron Weiser?
My name is Cameron Weiser. I'm speaking on behalf of the Central Pennsylvania Conservancy at 401 East Lowther Street in Carlisle. So I'm really just here, not necessarily to make a direct comment on the referendum, not to represent the process or anything, but just to kind of introduce the Conservancy as a potential partner. We're a nonprofit land trust that operates in Cumberland, Perry, and Franklin County. We've been around since the early 80s, and we consist of about 4 staff right now, doing some really great work. So, yeah, we've been following this more or less as it's come about, this referendum, and we're really pleased to hear that the township is considering it. You know, we haven't been super involved so far, but I wanted to let you know we're your local land trust. So, you know, I heard reference to Stephanie Williams. We work with her closely in the county program, and they have a real ag preservation focus, which I think is very, very important. But oftentimes there's properties that might not rank in, you know, their way of doing things. So Central PA Conservancy is really well positioned to work on properties that might not really fit their priorities. So I'm here just to say we're supportive of a referendum whenever it may happen, and you know, hope to partner on potential projects at some point in the future. So yeah, thank you.
Does Central Penn Conservancy have like a specialty like natural lands does more woodland and stream areas? Lancaster Farmland Trust, who we also talk to, does more agricultural lands.
Right, right.
Does Central Pennsylvania Conservancy have a specialty that way or a preference? Or
I would say we can go either way. We've worked on a lot of farmlands in the past, a lot in Perry County, some in Cumberland. And we still do that, but recognizing that most counties have ag preservation programs, which are, you know, in Cumberland County, it's very robust. We don't want to duplicate efforts. So oftentimes we're working on ridge properties, forested properties. And if, like I mentioned, if there's properties that are ag land or ag and residential that might not have great soils or might not be large enough to rank in the county programs, we're still able to work with those landowners and help them preserve the property the way they'd like to. We're also able to work with landowners in a more free-form manner. We don't use a boilerplate document. We say there's no one size fits all. So we're able to kind of take a landowner's wishes and try to implement that for their property and preserve it as best as we can. So, you know, it can be a complicated process. So I know some people who have been here have lots of questions, some that Laura's already answered, but we're always available. You know, if anybody wants to call us or email, we're here to help as your local land trust. So
there's been some public comment lately that like some of the Silver Spring easements aren't as good as the county easements, or they can be broken or something. And like my experience, all these conservation agencies are accredited and members of We Can Serve and so forth. And I don't believe there's a weakness necessarily in using a smaller conservancy. Some of the agreements, like there are like a state standard easement agreement I've seen.
Right. Yeah.
And you tailor it. I don't think there's a high risk, or I don't have that sense, but maybe.
No, I mean, so you mentioned accreditation. We're an accredited land trust, which means that we have a third party kind of watching what we're doing, making sure we're following our own policies and procedures and doing all the best due diligence that you would if you were buying a home or, you know, doing a development or something like that. Like we're following what we really ought to, like getting appraisals, title work, making sure there's no like buried hazardous waste on properties and all that. So we do pride ourselves on doing stuff the right way. I can't speak to Silver Springs easements, but you know, you kind of talked to the fact that there's standard easements like the county uses, and then there's ones that we can sort of adapt and you know, make work for different properties which might have different conservation value. Like some might have wetlands, some might have you know, ridges that are really important for wildlife. That's the advantage of having a document you can tweak, is you can really specify into those values. You know, consult our legal counsel early and often, so that helps us create pretty tight documents. But yeah, I want to mention as well that, you know, because of We Conserve PA, who I know Laura had mentioned earlier, and you just brought up, we are spoiled in Pennsylvania for land protection because We Conserve PA has created a model document which other states throughout the country look to as basically the standard for conservation easements, which is really impressive and we should take pride in. So, yeah, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Bitzer.
Joe Bitzer, 607 Keswick Court. Thanks for your time this evening. I am here tonight to encourage you to move forward with the land preservation referendum. It would be great if it could be a unanimous decision to move forward. Over the past several weeks, we've heard repeated criticism that this process has been fundamentally flawed and should be put on hold. I simply don't reach that conclusion. No process is perfect. Disagreements about processes are not unusual, but they do not mean the system is broken or that the board should abandon an important opportunity for our community. It's also important to recognize that this referendum is only the beginning of the process, not the end of it. The purpose is simply to ask one question: should the township have the authority and funding to establish a land preservation program? If the voters approve it, that's when the real work begins. That's when the township develops the policies, establishes the selection criteria, appoints an advisory committee, contacts the willing landowners to participate. Those implementation decisions are made after voter approval, not before it. And that is how it happens in all the townships. You can do a simple Google search and it will say that this is what you do before the referendum and this is what you do after it. I've heard criticism that more property owners should already have been contacted or that every detail should already be finalized, but that is not how it works. Without voter approval, the township has neither the funding nor the authority to pursue acquisitions. It would make little sense to spend significant time negotiating with landowners before knowing whether the community even supports creating the program. What we should be deciding tonight is whether the voters deserve the opportunity to make that decision for themselves. I also believe the timeline matters. Upper Allen Township is facing increasing development pressures, whether it's warehouses or the very real possibility of data center development. Once open space is developed, it is gone forever. We can never get that back. Some may view the urgency as poorly planned or premature. I see it as recognizing that opportunities to preserve land are time sensitive and that delaying important decisions often means losing options we can never get back. Ultimately, placing this referendum on the ballot does not preserve a single acre of land. It simply allows the people of Upper Allen Township to decide whether they want the tool to do so. That is how representative government is supposed to work. I respectfully ask you to let the voters have their say this November. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince DiFilippo. Okay.
Frank.
Unless you have questions about the Silver Sprinkler
Or
program.
does that hold true for Frank? Do you? Just to circle back to the question of how much money is in the fund and should be. I mean, when I was looking at some of those townships in Montgomery County, I mean, just staggering amount to save, like, you know, one of these last remaining farms. It was $20 million in one case. And I think Laura said it. I mean, the land values are escalating. And we heard Ken Strzok say that too, especially on farmland a couple of weeks ago. So I think you share that assessment, but $2 million is, you know, hardly enough. I think if a large transaction comes your way. I mean, we know the Rattleball transaction was 1.9 million, and you have more in the pipeline. So I don't think you're mismanaging the money in any way. It's a public service, what you're doing to try to preserve Silver Spring. I think most of the audience knows Silver Spring is up to 1,400 acres of preserved, land at this point, which is 1,000 more acres than Upper Allen has. And I don't think, we can never catch up, but at least we can start walking in the right direction. So, but thanks for coming out tonight. And these gentlemen have been great moral support for myself and intellectual support and research and just motivating. And we all know if Upper Allen, can succeed in this, there could be other interests in Cumberland County. And we all hope to see that. We're, hoping for even a larger outcome here, at least some of us. So thank you for coming out. We have more. We're done with the written list. Does anybody want to raise their hand to speak? Otherwise, okay, John.
John Banks, 835 Grantham Road. Alls I want to know is after all this talk tonight, okay, and the talk at previous meetings, are we going to vote on taking a referendum? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. After that,
right,
as you said, it goes from there. So, I mean, can we vote in 10 days or put it on a ballot or whatever? That's all. Okay. No more meetings. Just we're not going to do it or we're going to do it.
Right.
That's it.
And then the whole, has to be to the county. And then the voters have 90 days to really ask their own questions.
So either do it or
whether
don't
it's a
do it.
primary or whatever.
The proposed action is on the agenda for tonight, John.
Okay.
And that would be,
All right. Well, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We ready to vote on the ordinance?
Yeah.
we need a motion first.
Okay. Do we
I
have a
would
motion?
move to enact ordinance number 850 to approve the land preservation referendum to be submitted to Cumberland County for addition to the ballot in the general election on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You and I can. I hope you are. It should be.
Ask for a vote.
Oh, a no. Or
No.
is a no. Okay. So, but it does pass. We are going to have a question on the ballot. I'm really looking forward, however it works out. It is, like we said earlier, the essence of democracy. Most of us don't ever get to vote on a tax increase. And this is an interesting situation. And I do think, Mike had that chart up there for a long time. There is, I kind of looked at it, taking money out of your left pocket for this, but saving a big chunk of money out of your right pocket for future tax increases from school district and all that. So thank you.
President Fairchild.
Yeah.
I would just like to comment. I want to apologize to Commissioner Martin for my tone in my initial reaction to his opening remarks. I'm very excited about the results of that survey being posted, and we'll have plenty of time to go through that. And again, I apologize. Just a
No
knee-jerk reaction.
worries, because I didn't offer to pick you up a cup of coffee, so now we're even.
I did have a couple house cleaning issues, and some of it relates to your memo, Caldine, about like the staff cannot take a position on the referendum as to whether it should be adopted or not. And but you're interpreting that staff will take no further action to engage in discussions on the topic of land preservation after like April.
Just to be clear, we are available to serve, so we will answer questions based off of the facts. We will not give opinions in any way.
Right, that's fine. So we're on the same page then. I just wasn't sure how you were, interpreting that. And then my own research, that relates more as much ethics law or something, Josh, than what is in the Open Space Act or something.
Well, correct. I mean, you can't use public funds to campaign for this ballot initiative. So like, for example, you can't make staff stuff envelopes and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So we wanted to
They do.
update the website with these frequently asked questions. We're still putting that together. But staff intends to fulfill that, right? We're going to continue to post the information on our website, like the frequently asked questions. We know we're waiting for a final version of that We Can Serve handbook.
Everything that has been put on the website to date has been approved by all of the commissioners. Any additional facts can be placed on there, not positions or anything of the such that would be on your own personal time and effort, not on the townships.
And I had asked, that we hold the newsletter until tonight's vote. I believe we would like to have something in the fall newsletter, factual, just what the referendum is, what the tax increase is, what it's intended to do.
We will take a few paragraphs. We only have the next day or two to get that to the printer to stay hopefully in the queue, and that won't be too delayed on the delivery. But we do have a space for a few paragraphs, which we will take from the fact sheet that has already been vetted by all of the commissioners and is up on the website right now.
So customarily, you send the drafts of the newsletter around and we get to review it and edit it and comment on it. Will we also have the opportunity to see this
Correct.
addition before it's printed?
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you.
However, we will need a 24-hour turnaround though.
Oh, I would expect a 12-hour turnaround.
Okay.
No,
You
I mean,
said 12.
yeah.
She said 24.
No, but we owe that to staff. Our staff works tirelessly and we keep putting more work on them. And so the least we can do is,
Yeah.
we're all retired, so we can do it.
We have most of it already in the fact.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, yeah. But it's a
You
fair.
forgot about me already? Can I ask one follow-up question then? I know with regard to the FAQs, I just wanted to get your opinion, Josh, before we would post anything. Is that in violation of this ethics agreement? Would we be using your time then just to vet things before we post it online to make sure that it is factually accurate?
No, that is not a violation, and
Okay.
I will review it, and anything that I think crosses the line in the advocacy, I'll recommend that be taken out of the draft.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it. A lady had her hand up there. Yep. Mike, I don't know, could you put up the, the Hatfield website to their frequently asked questions, just so the public could see what they are? Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am, you had your.
Yeah, Jean McCardle, 2083 Hillside Drive. I just have a question. I sent a couple questions in regarding the referendum. I made the noon deadline today before the commissioners meeting. I have received no response and nobody answered my questions, and you voted. So I'm not sure if I misunderstood the process or if the email got lost in the process or what.
I don't remember.
My questions answered before the referendum actually appears on the ballot, if that's possible.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't remember, we got the email from the gentleman about the homeowners and.
You didn't get one from me?
No, not that I remember, but.
I did get something from you. Are you with Messiah Village?
No.
No.
So would you have your question now or what?
Well, it doesn't matter because you already voted, but I
But
would
it
like to
still
know
matters,
before we have
because
to vote.
like we said, we're doing this frequently asked questions. If it's a new one, we'll.
The first question was, will the voters have input on how the money raised through this referendum is actually used? And the second question is, could the money from this referendum be used to purchase Bishop Bridge? And I'm not expressing an opinion on the bridge. I'm just asking a question about whether or
I
not.
can answer that second one if that's all right.
Yeah.
I specifically asked that the language referring to historic lands be struck because I didn't want it to be interpreted as a play for the bridge. So we're past the bridge.
Okay.
That's not
Okay,
in the.
it was a little confusing to me when I read, I think, article or the bullet that was number 3 about how that was phrased, and I wanted to make sure that was not.
That's a good question, but Commissioner Walsh is in a minute having stated that position previously, so I think you have our word on that.
So how the money is going to be used, maybe it would have been good practice just to read how the question. Sure. This is how it'll appear on the ballot. Do you favor the imposition of an additional earned income tax at the rate of 1/20 of 1%? That's 0.0005, and an increase in the real property tax at a rate not to exceed 0.20 mils, and that is 20 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation by Upper Allen Township to be used for some or all of the following: financing acquisition of open space, acquiring conservation easements, acquiring recreation lands, and acquiring development rights. That's what will be on the ballot.
I guess that's development, right?
It's further in the, Josh, Ken is asking about farmland.
We don't
Did not.
specifically say anything in the question about farmland preservation.
Isn't it agricultural lands? In the,
Yes, yeah. Does it say
It's probably acquiring conservation easements.
I thought at one point we specifically
Right, there
said
were- there were like
agricultural lands.
For reasons, I think,
Yeah.
in the ordinance itself.
yeah, it says right in the ordinance, the township could purchase agricultural conservation easements or participate in state or county land preservation programs that acquire agricultural conservation easements. An agricultural conservation easement allows the landowner to retain his or her land and use it for farming or other agricultural purposes.
Granted, that's in the prefatory remarks, but the actual question that's on the ballot will not specifically mention agricultural lands, which I'm wondering if that was an oversight. If it should be financing acquisition of agricultural lands and open space, because we always included ag lands in our conversations and our
But we use the term open space, which agricultural lands are included. And we also use the terms conservation easements, which are for agricultural easements.
Great. I think we had Park and Recreation Committee. We have any report there?
I just wanted to just provide an update of what occurred at the meeting, but if there's staff that wanted to provide an update, I'll wait. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We had a presentation from Dark Sky PA about light pollution. And then just a few things to put on your calendars. Fall Fest will be September 25th, and the tree lighting is December 6th. I want to put a plug in for those fun events.
Yeah, you're on liaison, so you have to market with what they do. Okay, solicitor update.
Yes, I have a prepared statement to read. With regret, I'm announcing that I intend to resign as Township Solicitor, effective upon the Board of Commissioners' appointment of my successor. I am resigning to spend more time with my 3 children who are between the ages of 12 and 7. It has been a privilege to serve as Township Solicitor, and I am grateful for the opportunity to work with the board and serve the township. Finally, I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to work aside the township's dedicated staff. Their professionalism, knowledge, and commitment to serving the community have made my time as a township solicitor rewarding and enjoyable. I will assist the commissioners with a smooth transition to a new solicitor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I mean, it's really a tough one. We've got, as the new board, a really good relationship with Josh, and I
even
understand how busy he is. So
even though we had a heads up, it's still disappointing, understandable, but from my position, you have served this township with integrity and professionalism, and most of the time you acted like you were having sometimes fun. So, Mr. Chairman, I would move we accept that resignation with heartfelt appreciation for Josh's service to Upper Allen Township.
Is there an option to not accept it?
yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
He made a motion and
Okay.
he seconded.
Do we have a second? Okay. All those in favor of accepting the resignation?
Aye.
with regret. It's an aye, but.
Now, I think you made a
It's,
commitment that you will serve us until we find a successor. You know,
Yes,
sometimes this
assuming you're
board
acting
moves-
with due
sometimes
haste.
sometimes this board moves very, very slowly, Josh.
Oh, well, I've also seen this board move fast whenever.
Thank you. Capital Region COG update.
No update. We did have an auction in the last 2 weeks and it was a successful auction. And so Upper Island had some merchandise in it. So thank you.
Municipal Advisory Board.
No update.
Okay. Any additional public comment? Okay. Do we need an executive session?
Yes.
Probably.
Personnel.
For personnel, I think there's a general litigation matter. And what?
And dates, budget meeting.
Oh, and dates.
For the
we
budget.
could do that in public really, but we're trying to adjust the calendar for the budget discussions. And I did want to announce that we met with the Tolman Street neighbors in Orchard Glen. They have a steep slope behind their house that they're not able to mow, and it's in violation of some of the township ordinances, but they've reached out to the Chesapeake Bay Alliance. They're trying to like repopulate this steep slope with wildflowers or something that will grow there. And it's really been a challenge, and it's dangerous to mow, but it was a very productive meeting with them. And Mike Weld has done a super job just being, responsive to the neighbors and really, answering their questions. And we're working with them on a solution that I hope will be effective. So, okay. So we're not ready to adjourn since we have an executive session, but thank you everyone for coming out. Yep.